everyone can see it. And you just select the where you are in terms of being present. Right, and everybody is finding the poll. Jen, you can see it, right? It launched. Great.
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah. We'll just give it a second or two. All right. Give it 5 more seconds and then we'll share the results. There we go. Okay, so is everyone seeing the results? Yes? Give me a thumbs up if you're seeing it. Nope. Oh, because you know what? I didn't click share results. That's why.
Okay.
There we go. Great. So, well, this is great. So we have a lot of focus here. I love seeing, it's usually a bell curve, but I like it that it's sort of more oriented toward focus. So if you're feeling a little distracted, like think about what you can do for yourself to become centered and focused. And one thing I like to do sometimes when I start my day, or if I'm feeling distracted, is just take a moment to breathe. I'm going to stop sharing this so you can see the slides. And what I have is I have an iPhone, and I have an app on here called Insight Timer, and I can set it for any amount of time. I touch the button, it rings a bell, and I just do deep breathing. It times it for me, and then another bell will hit, and that's my cue to stop the deep breathing, and it helps center us. So I'm going to set it for a minute and just give everybody a chance to just give a minute of quiet breathing and meditation. We'll hear the bell coming up. Sometimes I do this. Always great to remember that if you're feeling overwhelmed, always good to stop, pause, and take a deep breath. Since the pandemic has started, and sometimes even before that, sometimes I've started my team meetings with everybody just taking a moment to breathe, and it helps center everybody and to come into the space. So we're going to start with some introductions, and what we're going to do now, we're going to have a chance to have you each have a brief conversation with somebody else, but before that, I'd like to have everybody introduce themselves in the chat, and I'm going to stop sharing my desktop so I can see the chat. And we're just, and if you can check in, when you check in on the chat or introduce yourself, it takes less time. And so I want you to say, type in your name, organization, and location. And I'll start. Just, say hello in the chat. Maybe tell us what time it is. I'll tell you, it's 6:10 a.m. ish. And I see that some of you are using the Insights app for yoga meditation too. That's great. And I'm seeing people from in Mozambique, it's 3:12. And I'm going to apologize and say if I mispronounce your name, Tishi. And you can unmute and correct me. Ira?
Desi.
Desi. Okay, Desi.
Chezzy.
Chezzy. I got it? All right, it's too early for me. Seeing people from all over New Zealand. Wow. At 1:12 a.m. Wow, you get an award. Colombia, Nigeria, Indonesia, Liberia. Wow, we're coming from all over. I think this is so powerful to see where we're all from. It's kind of like I'm visualizing a map of the world, and it's so nice that we don't have to get on an airplane, right? And fly for many hours and be tired. Philippines, great. So, what we're going to do now is, people are still, please do type in your introduction, continue to do that. This is a little technique that I use. It's a little bit of multitasking where you can have people use the chat, but also continue with the meeting. And the next thing we're going to do is, if I had you all in a workshop in the room, one thing I would do right at the beginning is do something that I call a share pair, where I'd ask you to buddy up with another person in the room and introduce yourselves and have a chat around a brief question. And the nice thing is that Zoom can mimic that using the breakout rooms. How many of you have experienced the breakout rooms? If you want to raise your hand. See, okay, so some of you have, some of you haven't. And basically what's going to happen is you're going to see an invitation to join a breakout room. You have to accept it. And then what will happen is all of a sudden you'll see going into breakout room on the screen, don't worry, and you'll be paired up with another person. It might be two other people, and it'll look just like this, and you'll have a chance to chat with each other. And what I would like you to do is, you can introduce yourselves really quickly, introduce yourself. And the prompt is, what is your burning question about self-care and personal resilience? You signed up for this, you showed up, some of you at 1 a.m. You must have a burning question that you want to learn about. So Jen is going to do all the magic behind the scene, behind this screen. She's going to be the wizard and put folks into the small groups. But before we do that, I see that there's 2 hands raised. Let's see.
Yes. Looks like Chezzy. Let's see, I'll unmute Chezzy. Chezzy, did you have a question? No, okay. Oh, your hand was raised. Okay, and then who was the other one?
Princess.
Princess, did you have a question?
Okay, I think we're good then.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Great. I think we're good. So everybody should accept the invitation. And then how long do they have, Beth?
Okay, it's going to be super short. It's just going to be a couple minutes just to introduce yourself and chat a little bit about your burning question. And then we're going to bring you back. So it's going to be about 4 minutes. So give the other person airtime. You're going to feel, when you come back, you're going to say, wow, that was way too short. But
okay. All right. Have fun, everyone.
welcome back, everybody. Great. And of course, I was way too short. We're going to have another chance for you to talk in small groups, but I wanted to get a chance for folks to just say hello in a small group and, talk about what it is that you want to learn about. So, so I want to talk a little bit about COVID healing, and to kick it off, I'm going to do a little exercise. I'm going to do this in the chat, and it's called grief walking because we've been dealing with a lot of uncertainty in the face of this pandemic. How many of you are working at home? Raise your hand. Or yeah, so it's a difference of your routine, and how many, if your parents maybe and your child had a caretaker or was in daycare, maybe daycare is not around either, so you're not only working at home but you're also juggling parenting and other day-to-day activities. So uncertainty can be really stressful because we really can't control everything. We don't know whether we're going to get sick. We don't know, there's concerns around safety, and also the technology adds a layer of stress. So all these things are going on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to type a series of 4 different prompts into the chat. And after each one, I want you to read the chat, reflect on it, type up your answer, but don't send it until I say send, and then we're going to all send it together, and then get a chance to see how everyone is feeling. So the first prompt is if only ... and I want you to think about all the uncertainty that's in all the stress and concerns around COVID. So the first prompt is if only. Think about it, type it in the chat. Don't send it. It's okay if you oops and send it, because I'm asking you to use the chat differently. So send it into the universe. Send it all with love to all of us. So if only, how you're feeling about this pandemic and the uncertainty that we're living in. So you can type it into the chat and send it by hitting return. So if only. Okay. Think about it, type it, send it in. Don't worry about making it perfect, and don't worry if there's typos or anything. It doesn't have to be complete thoughts. Just type it in and send it. Okay, the second prompt is it makes me ... It makes me. Think about it, type it, and send it. It makes me. It makes me. Great. Okay, the next prompt, the third prompt is I have to ... So the next one is I have to. Type it and then send it into the chat. And then the final prompt is when all is said and done. When all is said and done. When all is said and done, and you can type it in and then send it. Sending in. And you can scroll back and read what others are sharing. So I've been doing, I know. And also if this is overwhelming, because there's a lot of us on the call, you can always look away from the computer. Whenever there's overload from the screen, you have the power to get rid of that stress by just looking away or stretching or, you know, but do, if you can, like carefully look and see how folks are feeling. And I'm noticing that people are all kind of feeling similar and impacted in different ways, whether it's about the longing for human connection, wanting to feel safe, wanting more precise information, worried about work and income, and it's making us feel anxious, stressed, exhausted, tired. It looks like a lot of us are finding strategies within to help us cope. And I do see here, as scrolling through it, lots of optimism about what the future may bring when it's all said and done. And let me go back to sharing my screen. This is the only awkward part of Zoom, is switching back between presentation and looking at the screen and trying to look at everybody and see everybody's face and imagine what it would be like if we were in the room together. So this is a framework about how to heal from COVID. It comes from the Genesis Healing Institute, and we're all going through different phases in this pandemic and how we're feeling. Initially the shock, being unsure of the future, and some of us are still in shock, afraid of losing loved ones or my job. Moving towards something called adaptation, looking for support, engaging in things that are meaningful, anchoring ourselves and being present. And then once adapting, we could go through an, evolution, kind of maybe looking at reviving dreams that we once gave up on, looking at our present circumstance with a lot of curiosity. And then moving on to that next phase, which is called liberation, living in the world courageously without fear, giving freely to those who need it, and anchoring ourselves in infinite potential. So, the pandemic has prompted the largest global work from home experiment and homeschooling experiment in the world. And because of this need for social distancing, and all of a sudden we were kind of, uprooted from our routines. And it's not that we're just working from home, we're working at home during a global health crisis, an economic crisis. And we know people maybe who've gotten sick and maybe who have even sadly passed away from COVID. We're seeing this in our neighborhoods and our communities, and maybe we're seeing it if we're on Facebook or online. It's been a traumatic experience, and hopefully all of us will be on this path to healing and to live a more vibrant life in the face of all this certainty and in this new normal. So, so I would encourage us all to think about this as a journey and as a transformational journey. And to that end, here's this framework, and think about that, the positivity that will come after we work through all of the uncertainty. So think about, keep thinking for yourself, what are you discovering? What are you letting go of, keeping or creating? And what are you envisioning for the future? So take a moment and maybe pause and think about that. These are some great journaling prompts. I don't know how many of you, journal. I do. I didn't this morning, I got up too early, but I'm gonna do it right afterwards, is to sit with my pen and have just 10 minutes, even if I just write one sentence, and think about things. And I give myself different questions to think about. And what has helped one way to do this is to really think about a more positive future and what you're changing and what you're creating, what you're needing to let go of. So just pause right there and see if there's any questions or reflections in the chat. Great. Okay, so I'm going to shift now into giving you some practical tips around self-care and personal resilience. And we use a term in the US. I don't know how universal it is. It's called work-life balance. I mean, I don't know if it resonates. Maybe raise your hand. Let's see if that, yes, I see a few. But that's sort of being able to put boundaries around when you're at work and when you're at home and when you're in your personal life or when you're with your children. And this is really having that kind of boundary is the foundation to good mental health and being able to disconnect at the end of the day. And but the problem is that a lot of advice around resilience and self-care really relies on social interaction, meeting up with friends, spending time with family, going for a walk, or whatever it is, being with other people. And so that's part of what's contributing to our stress is this social isolation. And so we need a new way to think about disconnecting from work, even if we're doing work at home. And what's happening is, and again, this is different in the US, Friday is the end of the work week. Maybe for others it's Saturday or Sunday. I know it's different in other places in the world, but in the US, Friday, we always would say, thank God it's Friday. The weekend's coming, our rest is coming. But because of the pandemic and we're working from home, we don't have these time markers. We don't have a commute back and forth to the office, whether it's a walk or getting on a bus or driving. And we're at home, so it's hard to figure out when does my work stop and my family time begin. And maybe we're kind of working and cooking dinner at the same time. So this is what's contributing to the stress. So here are some tips. The first one is to remember the basics of good health. And that is the foundation of personal resilience. And the basics are sleep, nutrition, and exercise. So sleep, and all of these things help strengthen our immune systems, which is a really good thing to do during this time. So one thing, sleep. I have been reading lots of articles that because of the pandemic, people are having very vivid dreams and nightmares, and the anxiety has caused us not to get a good night's sleep. So it's really good to take some steps to make sure you get a good night's sleep, which is trying not to be working too late at night, or trying to just get into a calming kind of routine at night. Another important thing is exercise, trying to get out at least once a day. And I know it may be difficult for some, depending on where you are. I know where I am, we're required to wear masks when we go out. So in the morning, I put a mask on and I take my dog for a walk and I walk around our neighborhood and I look at the flowers in other people's gardens and pretend that I'm transported on a vacation. It's giving me a break. It's giving me some exercise. Exercise is really good. And it's also important to eat healthy foods as much as you can. I know in the situation that we're in, I know I've wanted just to eat all the things that are not good for me, like ice cream and potato chips. And while those things may be pleasing initially, it's not good to have unhealthy foods in your body all the time. So remember those basics around health. If you are having trouble sleeping, there's a wonderful podcast called Sleep With Me that's helped me go to sleep. The second tip is to be able to let go of normal workplace expectations. And I know this is really hard, but our boundaries are harder. It's we have to be forgiving and allow children to come on the Zoom call if you have children, or maybe you have a young child that needs attention. It's okay to mute and to turn your screen off. And maybe it's trying to set up a system where you're sharing childcare responsibilities. I know sometimes this can be hard if you're single parenting, or if you don't have a partner that's willing to do this. I know even though I have college kids, sometimes they do need attention, and my husband and I are both working at home, and we have a Google Calendar set up so we know who's on call to answer the question, what's for lunch? What is there to eat? With younger kids, it's great to take advantage of their nap times and to try to keep them entertained, and other things that you can do. As I mentioned before, one of the things that is contributing a lot to stress right now is that not having the boundaries between work and home life. And you can see in that chart, if you worked outside of the office, you had buffer time, you had your commute time, and you had that social time being in meetings, and that's kind of gone. So for me, one of the things that's been really helpful is to create new time markers and new rituals about beginning my day and ending my day. And as I mentioned before, one thing I've been doing in the morning is to go out for that walk, and that is my new commute time before I start my day. And the other thing I've had to do for myself is to set an alarm on my phone at the end of the day. I set an alarm for 15 minutes before the end of my stop time. And that's like, okay, I have 15 minutes, I need to close down, and I have a ritual about closing down the computer, making a list for the next day, and putting my phone on a charging station. And that signals to me, okay, I'm shifting. I wasn't doing that at the beginning of the pandemic, and I found myself working all the time because my laptop was, if you can see my background, I'm in my kitchen. I don't have a separate office, and my laptop and my work desk, everything, my work desk, I'm on a coffee table. It was there all the time. So I was working all the time. So I just scooped it up and I put it away as much as I can. So here are some ideas for start and stop day rituals, starting the day, even though we don't have to get up and go out and go into an office, maybe we need to shower and put on work clothes, make coffee, write in a journal, go for a walk, things that signal the start of your day, and then rituals that signal the end of your day. Do any of you have rituals to start your day or end your day? Maybe if we could drop some of those in the chat, take a moment and drop them in the chat. Coffee, yes, coffee. I actually have I have my coffee right here. I love different coffee. In fact, some of you are in places where there's amazing coffee. It's a signal to start the day. Coffee and TV talk show and newspaper all in bed. That's wonderful. That sounds amazing. So think about some rituals that you can use to start your day. Let's see if we can. Okay, having a dedicated workspace. And I know this is difficult if we have a small place. We have a small place, and now I have, in my area, I have college dormitory because I have 2 college kids at home, and my husband's also working at home, and we're not used to all being at home together. And we don't have all separate offices or workspaces. So we're getting really creative about a dedicated workspace. I'm in my sort of kitchen living room. I've seen pictures of different workspaces like this one on the ironing board. It's also a good idea to think about a standing desk, because sitting can make us stressed, and standing up and working can help us stay alert and keep the mind going. And it doesn't have to be something expensive. Here's one from my friend who created it. Hers is with a music stand and a carton. And somebody got very creative with toilet paper. Whoops, let me.
Not seeing any slides.
Yeah, just canceled out. Let me put that back in. Hopefully you saw the toilet paper standing desk. There we go. The other thing, we have been told to social distance from each other, to keep 6 feet away from other people, not in your immediate family. But maybe we also need to practice mental distancing. And what I found is that at the beginning of the pandemic, I felt like I had to read every single thing there was written in the newspaper or watch it on TV about the virus. I felt like that would keep me safe. And then I would imagine every single bad outcome and the harm that would come. And I found myself, that practice was very stressful. So I put myself on a media diet and a balanced diet like I would for my food, my healthy food, and try to just read from healthy sources and only from certain publications, and only to do it not to do it all the time and to read everything, but to do it only at a certain time in the day. And I'm seeing some tips coming in from Sue, being very selective about what you read and what you watch in the news. This is called, what happens is if we read something in the news that's anxiety producing, we're already anxious about the virus or what else is happening. And when we read it in the news, we're shooting ourselves with a second arrow. So we want to try not to do that. Another tip is to focus on positive thoughts. Ask yourself questions. These are good journaling prompts. What am I grateful for today? How can I get outside today? What's one thing that made me laugh? What beauty am I creating? Gratitude practices, being grateful for what you have. There's a whole field of scientific literature that shows about the power of gratitude practice, not only for individuals, but also in the workplace. The other thing is to incorporate quiet time during your day. I don't know if your calendars look like this. How many have calendars that may look like this? I know I try not to have my calendar look like this because this creates a lot of stress. And now with everything virtual, it's even more stressful. So having that quiet time during your day restores your nervous system. It can help you replenish energy and concentration. It facilitates clear thinking, and it quiets those negative thoughts, and it improves your productivity. And one little secret that I do is I actually put my quiet time into my schedule. And my team might think I have a meeting, but it's that quiet time to read a report, to do some writing, to do that thinking time that I may need to do for my work, that if I let it, could be eaten up with meetings. There's a famous author, some of you have probably heard of, maybe have read his books, Stephen King, very popular here in the US. He's very prolific. He's written lots and lots and lots of books. And he has a rule about writing, and it's write with the door closed, rewrite with the door open. And so it's really important to think about maybe going offline to do that important thinking work that we need to do as leaders in our organizations, and giving yourself that time and energy and space to do that. So thinking about how do you close the door? One way is to go offline. The other is that if you are using signs, so the one on the left, we have to be able to close the door sometimes to our other responsibilities as parents and moms. I have my kids interrupting me a lot. What is there to eat? Where can I find my sweatpants? So I thought that was pretty funny. Make a sign for them. If you are using Slack or some of the other online collaboration tools, put a status update that you're writing. Or maybe sometimes we need to put our phones on airline mode. We can't get in an airline, but we can put our phones into airline mode to reduce those introductions. It's also good to have a conversation with your coworkers about schedules, so they too have boundaries and there's not constant interruptions. Those are all great things to do. Tend and friend. Sometimes we feel better by taking care of other people. one thing that some of my colleagues have started to do, professionals, we've started to write handwritten letters to each other. We started letter chains. I don't know if you remember chain letters or had pen pals growing up. So there is a group of women leaders. We're all professionals, but we are taking the time to write handwritten notes to each other. And it has been wonderful. And I get in the mail comes in and I see a handwritten note from a colleague. And it's just, it actually brings a lot of joy. So tending and friending, whether it's people in your community, neighborhood, colleagues, think of ways to help each other. Now, there has to be a fine line between that, because what happens with women leaders is that we tend to be caretakers, and we tend not to put some boundaries around that. So caretaking and giving makes us feel good, but if we are giving so much that we don't have anything left for ourselves, that's not a good way to be a caretaker and tend and friend. One of the things I did for my family, you'll see there's my family, we adopted a senior dog from a rescue at the beginning of the pandemic. And I'm grateful every day for the dog, because he's very happy, he's very friendly, and he gives everybody a lot of joy. And the last tip comes from one of my dear colleagues who unfortunately passed away of cancer right before the pandemic. And while his name was John, and one of the things he used to do for himself to get through horrible days of treatment and knowing that he was going to be dying soon, he kept a positive attitude, and he asked himself, what rainbow am I going to eat today? So maintaining that positive attitude. For him, the rainbow was about finding healthy foods. In our neighborhoods, there's lots of families with young kids, and what they've done is they brought out different colored chalk, and they're drawing rainbows in the sidewalks. And so people, when they can go out and take a break with their family, they go and they look for the rainbows that are drawn on the sidewalk. So thinking about a rainbow every day. So I'm actually almost right on schedule, sort of. Just 2 more slides, and then we're going to have you go into small groups. In the book that I wrote on self-care, The Happy Healthy Nonprofit, I talked about the importance of creating a formal self-care plan, and to write down the things that you are going to do to take care of yourself, so if you write them down, you're more likely to follow through. And but we all know that these are new habits, and sometimes it's hard to start new habits. And so I like the tiny habit theory, which is finding an anchor, a routine that you're already doing. I saw some of you have coffee in the morning. So that's the anchor. Then that cues up a new tiny behavior. Maybe a new tiny behavior for self-care might be journaling or meditating or whatever it is. So you have your part of your routine, you have your tiny new self-care habit, and then you celebrate, yay me, I've done it. And then you keep on working that cycle. And here's an example with trying to get started with a meditation practice. So in the morning, I actually got started with the breathing. It's like every morning when I'm awake, and I know why I'm awake, that is my sign to start breathing. And then if I do it, I give myself a high five. So those are, I just gave you a lot of tips and a lot of different ideas. And let me see if I can stop sharing my screen. And I've seen a lot of things, ideas popping up in the chat. But what we're going to do now is give you time in your small groups. We're going to put you into small groups. And I want you to have a conversation about what you're going to do for self-care. What is one thing you can do to take care of yourself? Okay, I've given you tons and tons of ideas here, but there's probably something that sounds appealing, or maybe it's something that you're already thinking about doing. Maybe it's something that you are doing, but not consistently. Maybe there's something you're already doing, but you want to add on to it. Think about all the possible things that you can do for self-care. And what we're going to do now is put you into those breakout groups again, and you're going to get a chance to talk about that with another person. So I'm going to have Sue do all the magic. I'm sorry, Jen do all the magic.
And did you want them in groups of 2 again, or 3 or 4? I thought-
Probably, let's look at the time. Probably groups of 3, if we can do
Okay.
that.
Let me just move some.
And maybe there's one group of 4, one group of 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe there might be one group of 4.
Let me just, sorry, I just need to, you're going to end up in a room with just 2 people. I just need to move you.
Remember, you're going to have to accept
Okay.
the invitation to go into the breakout room. And in the chat is the question, what is one thing you can do to take care of yourself, to reduce your stress?
And how long will they have?
Let's see, we'll give them this a good 10 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
So it's,
All right, ladies, I'll give you a 1-minute countdown. Have fun. I will forget. There we go.
all right.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Great. Welcome back. Welcome back. You know what I thought we would do? We're going to now debrief and just have a conversation that I'm going to facilitate, but we're kind of almost an hour into it. And if I had you in the room, I would have you do some stretching. So we're just going to just get the energy going. So what I want you to do is just I have the power now, so just follow my stretch and then just stretch, all right? And watch what other people are doing. And then now everybody do their own thing. So just make up your own stretch, okay? And then just now as you're doing your own thing, take a look at somebody else's window and just copy them, all right? So I'm just gonna copy somebody else that I see and see if we can, how many of us are, see if we can all get doing the same stretch automatically. No, let's see. There, all right. All right, stretch breaks are a good thing to do, okay? Gets the blood flowing. Great, so so I'm gonna open this up now for questions and reflections and report backs of like what you talked about. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call on people. And I'm gonna call on, see, and everybody's hiding right now. Everybody turns off their video and they hide, right?
Thank you.
And I'm gonna call on Maritza to unmute. And so, what are some things that bubbled up for you in terms of self-care?
Hi everybody. Well, I was talking with my peers that I was cheating because my office is only 7 blocks from my home. So I'm driving and going to work office, but normally I start working at office and then I still work it at my house. And for me, it's like there's not a routine. So I'm very resilient on having no routine. And now I'm thinking for myself that I should stop sometimes, but not at the end or the beginning of the day. I should stop during the day, take a breath and relax. And also I was taking notes to share this information with my team because I feel that I'm also pushing them to keep working. They also should stop and relax. And I should to think how they feel during this pandemic. And I mean, it's not only just keep working, it's take a breath.
Oh, that's great. Would you like to invite somebody from your group to also share? Someone who is in your group to share, if you could call on them?
Yeah, sure. Avenue, she was in my group.
Is she here?
Yes. I don't know if I'm doing the right pronunciation.
Hi.
Yeah?
I'm here.
Okay.
Great.
Did you-
So
Did you want me to share? Yeah?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think Teresa gets the award for doing the most for self-help, for taking care of herself. She does 10 1-minute pauses a day. She sets something on her phone for time breaks, and makes sure that 10 times during the day she takes a 1-minute time out. She also does walks and meditation. Ira does a lot of praying, which gives her some peaceful time. She watches TV in the evenings, and she finds house cleaning relaxing because it's not the stress of cleaning your house when you're working outside of the home all day. It's just during the day, so she finds that relaxing as well.
That's great. I know, I don't think I've ever had such a clean house. Because it's my entertainment now. Let's hear from Anne. Anne D. Die? And
Hello.
hello.
Yeah, so I want to having fun in this pandemic because it's not our control. And one thing that I'm happy is that the nature is healed and the family is binded with the children. And then, so relax and then keep it on a positive that pandemic is well over for maybe 1 or 2 years. And then just relax and make it happy. And then I'm also happy with this pandemic. It's an advantage of meeting you all over the world in this webinar. And then free anxieties and then think positive always.
That's great. So positivity is so important, and I can hear it in your voice. Giselina, and apologies if I mispronounced your name. Would you like to unmute and share? I think you're still on mute. There you go.
Yeah. So first, I think I'd like to recall a bit of what Katie said in our group on how for her it's a bit more stressful because she was quite used to working from the office, so she had a specific set of time where she'll be working and then she would disconnect. And now with this whole situation, she feels like she tends to work a lot more from home, and sometimes she just has to remind herself that she has to switch off the computer. And although the phone still disturbs her a bit, it's in a way she finds a way to manage. I feel like in my case, because I normally work partially from partially from home. It's not just the fact that I'm working from home that is stressful, but it feels like working from home, people tend to demand a lot more from you. People have a lot more expectations, and it's a non-stop emails, calls, WhatsApps, like a lot more digital platforms that have been added. There's so many Zoom conferences and meetings and Skype calls. So in my specific case, I'm already a bit stressed with the fact that I'm pregnant in this situation, trying to think how safe it's going to be in a month's time because we just entered our winter. I tend to feel a lot more tired and sleepy now, but I still have to do all of this work. So I'm trying to strike a balance and try to impose some restrictions on myself and tend to delegate more to my colleagues, although I'm also worried that they also might feel a bit burned out the more work they have to do. So that's kind of where I am right now.
That's great. And it sounds like what might be helpful is to start to put some boundaries around technology. And I know it's hard, but maybe putting your phone in airplane mode and not feeling guilty about it, but just, and also having that conversation with colleagues about, we've had to do this on my team, because we got into a habit of just after hours on the weekends, all the time, on Slack and this. And so and then after the first 2 weeks of the pandemic and that kind of working, we all felt exhausted. And so we had this conversation about, okay, let's put some hours in place when we're available and when we're not. And we were really explicit about it. And that seemed to help. So maybe having a conversation about, when is work time and when is not work time. might help. And there's always scheduling a meeting with yourself. Nobody knows it's just you, but then it's your time. Let's see, I think we have time for one more reflection. Is there anybody that would like to raise their hand and share? You can use the participant, or you could physically raise your hand. See, I'm gonna page 3. Oh, I see. Mafan? Yes, Mafan, you can unmute. Did I mispronounce your name? I'm sorry.
Mfon.
Memfun.
Mfon. There you go.
All right.
Good. The first time I've heard my name being mutilated like that. But okay.
Congratulations, Beth.
Yeah.
Well, how about Missy Day? Would you like to share?
Yeah, I'd like to share. It was kind of nice that from in my own group, I kind of observed that almost everyone had the same thing on their mind. That's keeping fit, And apart from just keeping fit, just like other colleague, my elder colleague just mentioned, just a positive mind first, When you wake and you have that positive mindset, it just caters for you. What works for you, you do it. But just like you said, the most of this, the technology is with us to stay, and we can't do away with them. I don't think there's anyone that will not feel guilt putting the phone off or just putting it on flight mode. Most definitely be thinking, oh, there's a big thing, And I'm going to group with 2 other beautiful ladies, Katrina and Carolina. And Katrina said a whole lot, she wakes up and she's going to do her gardening, or times she goes for, bicycle, to, cycles, or at the end of the day, she also adds some yoga and all that, just putting a positive mindset and keeping fit. Because I think once your body is fit, every other thing kind of falls in place. Even Carolina too does that too with her family. She does a lot of she wakes up, does workout with her family on WhatsApp. They have a group that they do that, and kind of helps her keep helps them kickstart the day. I myself also do some walking and jogging in the morning. Just help me refresh my mind, taking the fresh air. Also strategize for the whole day, thinking how I'm going to handle the whole stuff, a lot of stuff when I come back from, taking care of the family, the cooking, the walk, and every other activities that goes on. But just that positive mindset, first of all, just start it. And then what you pick for yourself works for you. Even if it's shopping, or cooking, if that works for you, fine. So as long as your mindset is positive, it's okay. Try to eliminate negative energy, and stay positive. That's just it, for me. And that's just it. And for me, this Zoom meetings also has I mentioned the other time, it had its own, positive energy too. Reconnecting with our fellow colleagues and talking, hearing how other people are handling theirs, and it helps you also keep the faith and keep staying strong. So kudos to our wonderful team, and thanks for having this program.
Oh, great. Thank you.
So
Thank you for that great share. Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
very glad for the participation.
Great. So I want to be mindful of the time, and I'm going to, because I know we're running a little bit over, and I know some of you are up really late. So what I'm going to do is we'll have a formal close, and then, if you want to hang on the line and chat a little bit more, or ask questions, I'm happy to remain on the line. But I'd like you to do for yourself right now is maybe to type into the chat and think about what's one thing that you're going to start doing or continue doing to make sure that you are building your resilience and reducing stress and staying positive during the pandemic to help you be a more effective leader. So if you want to type that into the chat. Just one thing that you can do it. I love that. I see a 1 minute pause. And now I'm afraid to pronounce anybody else's name.
MFON has shamed you.
Well, not that, or I'll make everybody laugh, make everybody. I'm going to go for it. Not to be a procrastinator from Haring.
Haraning, yep.
Haraning, Arawati, learn yoga, and learn a lot of work from home. Yila, gardening. Vitreria, continue to learn to cook. Nancy, dance for 30 minutes daily. I like that.
Oh, I love that, Nancy.
Teresa, use the sleep with me and be productive of my diary, meaning schedule. Yoga and meditation, be more disciplined, contain self, especially in emotional outbursts.
Frank.
That
You just call her Frank.
Just call her Frank.
One thing I continue to do is to monitor staff in the field and sensitive to the community. This will make me productive. To delegate more from Fiona. Tia, meditation and yoga.
Yeah.
Gardening.
Nancy's giving me the idea that we might need to have a dance party call
Well,
one of these days.
Well, you know what?
Yes.
Maybe we could end the call with a little bit of dance, and you can do this on Zoom. And I'm just see what I have here. See if
I
it's
love that.
Could do the Cupid shuffle.
Here we go. All right, so this is how we're gonna dance.
Feels good.
And another way to do this is here's the dance floor, and you can have a little finger dance.
Oh, yeah.
Little Bollywood here. Now this will get you dancing. Oh, look at Coralie. You can stand too.
Come on, Africa. Come on,
All right.
Africa.
Go, Coralie.
Oh, look at Coralie.
Come on.
I do want to stand. I got to stand.
Oh.
I see some people are shy.
There's Nancy.
Where's Nancy?
All right. All right. So thank you, everybody.
Oh, that felt so good.
Okay.
Beth, thank you so much. Round of applause for Beth.
Thank you. So nice to meet you all. And again,
Thank
those of you who need to stop working and get your sleep can certainly go, and we can. I'm certainly glad to hang out for a little bit longer, answer any questions.
Thank you, Beth. Before everybody goes, I just want to remind you we'll be here next week, and we have our guest facilitator, our guest presenter on gender and doing kind of a gender assessment during COVID and special considerations. So please do come and please share the link that I sent for the Zoom with other GWIM or WLI alumni that might want to participate. And also you can direct them to the Facebook page. And I'll be sharing all these resources with you after the call in our shared folder. So anything else, Sue? Any other announcements?
No, thank you, Beth. That was wonderful. I already feel more relaxed.
Oh, I
Right.
know.
And
then,
just the slides and resources, well, I guess you'll send those in a
yeah, I'll
follow-up.
send those out. And our Spanish speakers, remember, we do have another call tonight. Is Carolina still on the call? I'm scrolling through. She may be off now. Oh, no, there she is. Carolina, are you there? She may be busy. Anyways, we have our second call tonight. That's on the Facebook page as well. So Spanish.
because I'm here.
Oh, there you are. And remind us what the theme is for tonight's Spanish call.
Yes, at 6:30 p.m. Colombian time.
Okay. Yeah, and we have what's the theme tonight is Margarita is presenting on. I'm trying to remember.
The topic? What's the topic, Carolina?
También, autocuidado. I think so.
Okay, self-care in
también,
Spanish.
Oh, self-care in Spanish.
Great.
But the topic actually is liderando el cambio.
Leadership during change. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. And if you want to stay, please stay, and then we can open it up for anyone who has questions for Beth or comments. You can either unmute yourself or raise your hand, and then I can help get you situated.
I just want to say hello to Sue.
Who is that?
This is John from Nigeria.
I saw you, Joan. How are you?
I'm fine. How are
It's
you?
so good to see you. It's
This
been
is
so
13
long.
years. It's a long time.
Thanks for
I'm
coming
so
on.
happy to see you.
Mwah.
I love you.
These calls every week are self-care for me, seeing everybody.
Yeah, you look great, Joan.
Thank you.
Come next week too, okay?
I try to.
Okay, dear.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
I can't wait to try some of these things myself. Yes, Fiona. Oh, Tilma. Hi. Who is speaking?
Group picture.
Group picture.
Oh, group picture.
Yeah, I know. We've got some people off and not every, we have 2 screens full.
Let's just screen cap two times.
Put your
Let's
cameras
see.
on, everybody, for a photo.
Photos.
Joan, Hawa, can you put your camera on, hon? Frank?
There.
Video?
Caroline, I'm just going to lower your hand for the picture and then I'll call on you next. All right, let me see.
Hold on. There's Joan. Great. Hawa, can you do video, Hawa?
She was having connection issues before.
I know. Frank?
Her camera's
Oh,
not
her
working.
camera's not working. Okay.
All
Frank?
right, let's see.
There you go.
There we go.
Who took the picture?
Let's see. I just,
Did you take the picture, Jen?
Yeah.
You didn't let me fix my hair.
Well, you asked me to take the picture. You should have waited.
So beautiful.
Why not we are dancing again? Can we take a picture of the second screen?
I can. Just a
Yeah.
minute. Let's see.
Oh, that's a good.
The second
that's a good-
screen. Okay.
There's a good shot right there.
There we go. All right. I hope I got everybody in one screen or the other.
Awesome.
Yay. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Bye,
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you,
What about
Beth.
Teresa?
Thank you.
Carolina, Maribel.
And thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Love
you.
Thank you.
See you again, Teacher Sue.
Carolina, did you have something, hon? I put your hand down, but did you have something you wanted to say or ask? Oh, there you go.
Yes, yes, yes. I just want to thank you to Beth because when I answered the survey, I think that I was the person who said, I'm in a 10 tabs in my computer and I have a lot of to do, but I really came to focus and try to join the call, and I really, really joined, and I feel very happy to participate in that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nice way to start the call. Is that Lorena?
Good to see you.
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Lorena.
Did you just wake up?
Oh, you're muted, hon. You're muted. I'm trying to unmute you. I can't unmute you, so. Oh, no, we can see you. Oh, no. I hate that when for some reason it won't unmute.
I know. We can hear you. There you go.
There you go.
Now we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Everybody.
So good to see you.
Oh my gosh, New Zealand. You guys amaze me. What is it, 3 in the
Wow.
morning there?
It's about 2:30 in the morning.
Oh my God.
I couldn't miss this.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
You missed Teresa. I don't know if you saw her, but she was on earlier too.
Yeah, I saw her. Yeah, for a little time.
That's impressive. You guys win the award for the
Yes.
best government and the most
Staying up
dedicated.
late.
Oh,
Oh, so good to see you.
oh,
So
Rick.
great.
Yeah.
Oh, ladies. Juscelina, now we see you.
Still here.
Be sure to let us know when that baby comes.
I will.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Dance class next week.
Yes.
Next week, we'll see you.
Bye.